Asmodeus, 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 Asmodeus. You're welcome. Hello and welcome to another Oh My Gods video. These are Pathfinder 2e lore videos about, yeah, you guessed it, the deities within Pathfinder 2nd Edition. I just want to go ahead and take a moment real quick to welcome all these new cardinals to the nest. Welcome, welcome. I know that most of you have found me through the recent drama around the Pathfinder 2e community. I just want to go ahead and close it up real quick and say I personally have buried the hatchet on my end with my response to a response video. And I can only hope that Cody from Taking D20 will acknowledge that. I'm not saying he has to make a whole video just for me, but I hope he acknowledges that I've at least buried the hatchet on my side. But we are not here for drama. We are here for lore. So with that, let's go ahead and get into it. Asmodeus, Asmodeus, the Prince of Darkness, lawful evil alignment, the god of contracts, pride, slavery, and tyranny. The realm that Asmodeus likes to chill in, even though it's hot as hell, is Nessus, or Hell. Now, Nessus specifically, there are multiple layers of hell. His is the very, 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 very bottom, known as Nessus. I almost said Nephis. This is not true. The only ally, see, it says allies on the sheet, but he only has one. So ally for Asmodeus is Abadar. Again, you'd know that if you've watched my Abadar video. So, with that, his enemies are Besmara, Caden Kaleen, Grandmother Spider, Eomade, Irori, Lamashtu, Rovagug, Sarenrae, Shaylin. Don't have a lot of friends. Not respected, or either respect, again, Abadar respects him just for the fact of his how strictly he adheres to his own order, even though it's not necessarily an order Abadar would ever put in place. He respects it. Relationships for Asmodeus are Ehis, or Ias. I'm not sure. I'm just going to go with Ehis, which is his deceased brother, which we'll get more into when we go into the reading. Temples for Asmodeus are dark temples near government buildings. Again, he really likes to have his hand in all things law and order as best as he can. Worshippers for Asmodeus are going to be diabolists, lawyers, slavers, or those who seek rulership or a higher discipline or a more honed-in discipline. So, just to kind of throw a little extra on that, in my Age of Ashes campaign, the Dama Falco is a elf tiefling barrister, so lawyer, an elf tiefling barrister background, a divine sorcerer who happens to be granted his divine sorcerer powers by Asmodeus. And with the new free archetype, we'll be taking Cleric of Asmodeus. So, again, I think it's just awesome stuff. So, anyway, sacred animal for Asmodeus is the serpent, which, again, if any of you are even somewhat versed in the Holy Bible and have read the first chapter, well, I don't know if it's the first chapter, first 2 or 3 chapters of Genesis in the Holy Bible. The way that Paizo wanted to, and this goes all the way back to first edition, wanted to portray him. Again, it's a lot easier when you go with what's familiar, and they went with the serpent was the first depiction of an animal form of the devil, as he's the one who tempted Eve to eat the apple, blah, 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 blah. So again, they did the same here, and they made him a serpent. So a deceiver, if you will. Sacred colors are, no surprise, black and red. Look no further than Chiliacs. Divine ability. If you are a cleric of Asmodeus and you're using the background in the Gods of Magic to get the divine ability, is any ability score. Except that you're tied to him via making a contract with your soul to the Dark Prince for all eternity. So, have fun with that. Alternate domains for being an Asmodean cleric are duty, or anyone who can get domain powers through Asmodeus or focus spells would be duty and glyph. Again, Dama is has domain initiate, and he has the glyph focus spell. Very, very, very thematic for a lawyer. The ability to redact names from redact or even change or manipulate text, to better suit you and things like that. It's just really, really awesome. Like, I mean, imagine you could grab someone's deed to their house and say, "Oh, it's in my name. What do you mean?" Like, because you could just, not instantly, obviously, but like there's a lot of room for really, really cool stuff. So with that, we're going to go ahead and go into the reading. Asmodeus is the first, the Dark Prince, the Lord of Darkness and Law, and the ruler of the plane of hell. If Asmodeus's own scriptures are to be believed, and they are corroborated by certain other accounts, like the angel-penned Book of the Damned, he is one of the oldest beings in the multiverse. These texts claim that in time before time itself, in a world not yet created, Asmodeus and his brother Ehis were among the first gods in existence. During these unnamed ages, two gods quarreled over the fate of the souls of their creations, and Asmodeus slew his brother. Confident that Ehis's act of granting mortals free will was folly, Asmodeus made his own convictions known, that existence is best served by absolute order and discipline. These claims contradict other popular creation myths, and both theologians and immortal agents of the gods doubt Asmodeus's claims to varying degrees. But while there is no evidence to prove them, they are also difficult to refute. Asmodeus can take on any form he wishes. His best known depiction, however, is the appearance he is given in popular art. An ancient being with striking red skin, black horns and hooves, surrounded with a pale aura of flames. He is shown either bearing a long contract scroll and a vicious-looking flaming mace, or seated upon a throne, ruling over hordes of devils above the apocalyptic landscape of hell. Asmodeus is known to be eloquent, tactful, patient, and incredibly brilliant. But when angered, he is wrathful and terrifying. Despite his fiendish depiction and the widespread knowledge of his disdain of free will, many mortals worship Asmodeus. Setting aside the question of good and evil, which, of course, he most certainly is evil, Asmodeus is an immensely powerful divine being, perhaps one of the most powerful in existence. He represents strict discipline, as he was a being of order long before the concepts of right and wrong were created. This representation of Asmodeus as a champion of law means that his worship is not limited to cults and hushed whispers. Even though it is heavily frowned upon in most of the areas of the world, his worship is nevertheless widespread and occasionally, in cases like the nation of Chiliacs, the primary religion of an entire region. Servitors of Asmodeus include power-hungry priests, diabolists, lawyers, and the decadent nobility of hell-bound regions like Chiliacs. These followers find the inherent structure of hell a virtue and even seek to emulate it through clever use of the law. Making use of such order allows followers to vie for higher positions of power. usually by taking advantage of complicated bureaucracies. This is a skill that most Asmodeans share, as the Church's holy text, the Asmodean monograph, is itself a tome with several supplemental volumes and appendixes that together require a very deep understanding to even navigate, much less exploit. Asmodeans are careful in their pursuit of power, however, as a quick ascension or an overextension can leave one vulnerable to those intent on finding weakness. Beyond his clerics and priests, Asmodeus has hold over several other types of worshippers. Soldiers and other martially minded individuals might welcome Asmodeus's gifts and the dogma of force and dominance required to wield them. But regardless of their role, anyone seeking great power or wealth likely finds the form of a local Asmodean priest offering such gifts, though questionably yet technically legal means. Through to questionable yet technically legal means. Other times, devils appear to offer literal infernal contracts, accepting the signer's soul in exchange for greater abilities, such as spellcasting, or the ability to summon that very devil itself. Temples of Asmodeus vary greatly from region to region, depending on the faith's reception. Public temples to the Dark Prince typically feature Gothic or Baroque architecture. In Chiliax, his temples sometimes double as government buildings, or share space with the same structures. Inside, bureaucrats, judges, and other government workers use their understanding of contracts and laws to maintain the infernal machine of order. In places less open to worship of Asmodeus, his temples may be secret sites, such as hidden shrines in personal homes or concealed temples accessible only via secret doors and halls. Next, we have the divine intercessions, which includes the boons and curses of Asmodeus. Asmodeus tends to offer his gifts to entice those on the precipice of yielding his vile temptations. His curses come most often in response to those who break contracts in his name or commit other personal insults. The minor boon of Asmodeus. Pleased by your talent for manipulation, Asmodeus amplifies your skills once and only once. When you fail at the diplomacy check to make a significant or consequential request, you can cast suggestion on the target of your request, suggesting the course of action. This is considered a divine innate spell. So, pretty obvious if you're trying to reach an end, and even if you have to manipulate your way to get in there to that end, he sees that as a way to go and rewards you for doing such. Next, we have the moderate boon of Asmodeus. Your eyes glow red like ember, and your skin takes on a crimson tone. You gain dark vision and fire resistance 5. Now, for aesthetic purposes, I allow my player to control when his eyes glow red. Because most people, if you were to go, let's say you were in Edgewatch and let's say you had someone who was an Asmodean worshiper in secret or whatever, like your players were in Edgewatch, doing Agents of Edgewatch. And then you're like, hey, you've earned the moderate boon of Asmodeus. And you're walking around, Absalom, and he's got his eyes glowing red. People are like, "Bruh? Like, what is wrong with him? Something's clearly wrong with him," especially if you're human and your skin starts turning crimson or whatever. I say let the player control that aspect of the boon. Obviously, the dark vision and fire resistance. Mwah. My ruling on the dark vision is if the creature already has dark vision, greater dark vision 120 feet. That's me. Doesn't work for everybody. It's your table. You rule that how you rule. Major boon of Asmodeus. Asmodeus helps enforce your bargains and contracts. When a creature enters a bargain or contract with you, uncoerced and of its own free will, it cannot voluntarily violate its side of the bargain as long as you uphold your side of the bargain. You can always choose to violate the bargain yourself, but if you do, the creature is no longer bound to fulfill its part. So, again, pretty cool, very roleplay heavy ability. Not much you can do with that in combat. I think that's a great roleplay, or ability to really continue to just keep on the train of, wanting those kind of things. Now for the curses. The minor curse of Asmodeus. Asmodeus's flames burn you with great malice. You gain weakness 5 to fire. All I'm going to say is I hope you're not playing the Age of Ashes campaign because you're screwed. Because just lots of fire stuff. The major curse of Asmodeus. Asmodeus forces your compliance. You cannot voluntarily back out of an agreement or contract or go back on your word, though you need follow only the letter of the agreement, not the spirit. So, again, that's very tough on a player. So again, be pretty careful about how strictly you enforce these things. This can quickly turn playing a character into a miserable, very, very, very miserable experience. I would not have this curse very long, or there'd be a clear way to get rid of it. You are I would say Asmodeus probably comes to them or does it while they're sleeping and says, until you do this or until this is done, because until further notice that's really, really, really brutal. And the major curse of Asmodeus. Asmodeus has taken note of the chaos you have wrought, which we all know how much he loves chaos. You receive an ancient wound that feels older than time itself. You become permanently drained 4. And nothing short of another intercession can remove this condition. Your wound aches fiercely whenever you perform a particularly chaotic act, causing you to become sickened 1. Oh, I love the curses of the deities are so brutal, but so thematically cool too, all at the same time. Awesome. Again, if you're gonna go with anything above major. It says major. I think it's the second one's supposed to be moderate. A little bit of typo issue there, Python. Okay, but anyway, major curse. I'd be very careful with major and moderate curses, especially with the evil deities. The evil deities are so brutal with their moderate and major curses. Last but not least, we have the aphorisms of Asmodeus. These are terms that countless curses or praises of the worshippers of Asmodeus would say. Great is Asmodeus, a declaration in support and praise of Asmodeus, proclaimed with pride by his followers who know of his inevitable rule, or whispered as a sign of trust from one cultist to another, in places where his worship is not accepted. What once was his shall be again. Again, a Asmodean doctrine posits that the first once ruled over all of the multiverse, and his faithful maintain that he will eventually resume that total leadership. Worshippers repeat this assertion as validation among themselves, a call to arms, and a threat to those who oppose the Dark Prince's law. And last but not least, by his flames, a passionate cry for help and a request for divine intervention. The more devout followers of Asmodeus know all too well the danger of this request. For all contracts exact a price, and the cost of Asmodeus's favor is far higher when the petitioner is in dire need and has no room for negotiation. So you can literally ask for Asmodeus to come help you, but it's gonna cost you big time. So again, very flavorful, super RP heavy, very, very, very cool. And with that, that's actually going to go ahead and conclude Asmodeus, 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 Asmodeus.